But whilst detection and enforcement have played their part in these improved crime figures, it's not the whole story.
It's not just about detection and enforcement. We've been very good at those, but we're looking at longer term preventative programmes. A good example of it would be the support that NDC have given to our youth strategy, supporting the work of, for example, the Hip Hop Club in Hyde Park. Those are forums where we get young people in off the streets, engaged in positive activities, something for their future. And it provides an opportunity for us and our partner agencies to engage with some disadvantaged young people and really look at changing behaviour for the future. So there's an education side, a preventative side to the NDC programme, which I believe will bear fruit in future years.
NDC have worked with Doncaster Youth Offending Team to develop a youth engagement programme, working with young people in the NDC area who are either persistently truanting or beginning to show signs of engaging in antisocial behaviour.
Now I'm not working, you see. I had an accident.
Mick Godfrey from the Hexthorpe Residents Association, the Cracking Group, has lobbied for the provision of play spaces in his neighbourhood.
Well, it'll give 13 to 18-year-olds some sort of idea, some sort of goal, some sort of training, you know, to either play football or netball or something else like that, or sort of develop games and that sort of thing, you know, and really to get them out of the house and into some fresh air and get them doing things. You know, it's children-led because they were asked at the consultation what they wanted and how they wanted it. And one of the things that made me laugh was the tarmac for, you know, remote control cars. And I would have thought that wouldn't be a sport, but it appears it is. So, you know, there you go.
Better than stealing cars?
Better than stealing cars, yeah.
On a nearby plot of land, NDC worked with Groundworks to create a toddler play park.
Well, initially we started working with the Cracking Group, who were really keen to get a project here up and running. So we helped the Cracking Group put in an application to New Deal for a £50,000 funding to put towards this project. We then managed to get sort of match funding through landfill tax money to put towards the toddler area project. It's really about the wider community ownership. About people feeling safer to go out into the community, but being out on these sort of new facilities. The more people are out here, children playing on the play area, families, parents sort of bringing their children and sort of sitting about and maybe having picnics or whatever, then really it's just about creating that feeling of safety.
There are a number of similar schemes throughout the NDC areas, and although quiet on a cold winter day when we filmed, they were all in good shape. Well, I'm quite pleasantly surprised to see that it's not been vandalised, it's not been set on fire, there's no graffiti. It seems to be well looked after.
It is well looked after, well used. Five-a-side pitch here to the left of us, it's floodlit, used on a daily basis. Kids come home from school, it's generally packed in there. The small park there to his right, we came past there this morning, that's usually full of kids.
I mean, do you think it helps keep the kids out of bother?
Definitely, certainly the younger ones, somewhere for them to congregate rather than on street corners and the like, but very popular, the football pitch in the park.
A patch of derelict ground in Netherhall was turned into a play park, now called the Square, which meets with approval from local residents.
It gives something to the kids, something for them to do, takes them off the streets and away from antisocial behaviour or at risk of committing antisocial behaviour. It's also pulled the kids into one focal point, and then the local community group, Netherhall Community Group, have been able to work with those kids, pull them into other organised activities.
So before 2005, this looked like a very different place, didn't it?
It certainly did, yeah. It was dark, dingy, kids playing on the street. Sadly, in the Netherhall area, this area is called the Netherhall area of Doncaster, and sadly there were no green spaces, nowhere for the kids to play. So the kids played on the street amongst people dealing drugs, ladies working the street. It just wasn't ideal at all. Since the park's been brought in, it's just made an amazing difference.
NDC's commitment to improving the physical environment includes redevelopment of parts of the Hyde Park area known as the Six Streets to provide new housing. Provision of funds for alley gates have played an important role in making people feel safer in their homes.
We've provided a number of alligates in the Hyde Park area and around here in Netherhall. Yes, we've done it for environmental reasons. People wanted to feel they had some security in their back streets. It's been an environmental improvement. It's been able to allocate space that's more private for people who live there. But importantly, of course, it's a deterrent. You know, these alligates are not easy to get through. So people feel quite safe with their back streets now being protected by alligates.
Behind Hyde Park is an unusual project founded with financial assistance from NDC. It's the Car House Allotment Community Enterprise. It delivers services around education and training, and one of its key client groups are offenders doing community service, like Andy Phillip. I'm really impressed with the scale of stuff here. I mean, it's a great setup, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic, yeah. There's quite a few lads come down here from Bowlby with the fetch across weekly. Rather than going out painting and decorating and whatnot, they tend to come for this more natural side of it, you know, insofar as gardening. I mean, I've never been in the garden before I came here, and I love it. I really do love it. It's local grown veg. People come down, old lasses come down from the village and they give me a bag of sprouts, carrots and all sorts, you know, it's nice, it's a good feeling, it really is. Near future's up in so I believe to set a couple of lads on. If that's the case, I want to be one of them. And he's fobbed me off and said no, but I think he knows I'm being serious now, you know, and he's actually looking into it. He's made a few phone calls to find out whether I can actually come part-time down here for starters. But he has got some big ideas over the next couple of years when he intends to do it, place.
Those ideas would have been impossible to achieve without NDC support.
Well, NDC has supported us from day one, as from 2003, with the building that we've got. It's given us the chance to try something. We didn't have a real idea of what we wanted to do when we started. So they took a risk with us, really. And fortunately it's paid off.
Taking risks is all part and parcel of the organisation's approach to regeneration, and it's an approach that seems to work. But as I looked out over a freshly dug patch of formerly derelict land, I wondered, did residents feel that crime was indeed falling? If they felt safer? And what were their concerns for the future?
Well, I think it's actually drugs and alcoholism.
Drugs, prostitution.
Drugs.
Drugs. I think that around here there's a lot of drugs stuff going on. Every corner's got a drug dealer.
Has it always been like that?
It has, but I think a lot have been moved out of area. You know, they have cleaned up a number of streets around here where they've known there's been loads of drug dealers and stuff.
There's a lot of drugs around here, especially in these streets that you're looking at now, or the streets you're in at the moment. There's also a lot of very, very good people live around here, and a lot of people who want to continue living around here.
Parents just throwing the kids out on the street and telling them to get lost. Don't want to see you for the rest of the night.
Antisocial behaviour is a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, because parents don't really care. Get to 12 round here, right, get on the street. There's only one or two parents will say, right, you're not going out unless I know exactly where you are.
I think things have probably got a lot worse with regards to having things stolen from your garden, the amount of drugs that there are available in the area. There's cars on corners selling drugs from street corners, so they're not selling them from their own houses, so that's got a bit worse. So it is, but whether they're actually doing anything about it, because I know a lot of this has been reported, it's whether the police have actually done anything about it.
I put that question directly to Bob Sanderson. Although the crime figures have come down, we can see that in front of us. How come then that the perception on the streets and the people that we've spoken to is that that's not the case?
Yeah, it's probably one of our greatest challenges in terms of closing the perception gap between the reality of crime and the perception of communities, particularly the vulnerable communities out there, the elderly, for example. You know, and I think, you know, we've got a difficult job to do. We have changed our approach in terms of marketing. You know, we're trying to get positive messages out. The SNTs are regularly engaging with local people. We send newsletters out on a quarterly cycle to show the public what we are doing. But I think the difficulty is sometimes is that you are really up against some major influencers, not least of which is within the media. Of course, you know, the media will portray serious offences being committed, whether that be murders or knife crimes, and of course, you know, everybody having a TV in their house means that on occasions their perception is fuelled by what's happening out there. It might not be happening on their doorstep, it could be happening regionally or it could be happening nationally. And I think that's a real challenge for us in terms of how do we, not just the police, but how do we in partnership influence public opinion much better and close that perception gap. And we need to make sure that they realise that we're working on their behalf and doing a good job and getting the reality over that the likelihood now of being a victim of crime is far, far less than it was a couple of years ago.